I'm back. Just like that, back again in the cave. Man, the miles I put on this time of year. Made of the North. That's what my t-shirt says. Can't see it on the screen fully. Anyway, what I got to share right now. I'm going to finish that email that I read in the woods. That was yesterday, right? Day before yesterday. Going to finish that one, share in some more voices, and then I have to pack up and leave again. I went through frickin' hell trying to get back yesterday. It was the beginning of a long weekend here in British Columbia. Trying to get on the BC ferry to get home is next to impossible without a reservation. Didn't have one. And I got up early in the morning after going to the wedding. Ripped all the way down. Sarah couldn't make it because we didn't have somebody to take care of the animals. And anyway, all good. All worked out. But anyways, here I am ripping home, battling traffic. Get to the ferry lineup. He said, you got a reservation? I go, nope. This is like at 9 in the morning. And he goes, oh, well, just so you know, you might get on the very last ferry at 10 something tonight, but probably not. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So then what do? I battled hardcore big city traffic to get all the way to the other side of Vancouver to try the other ferry, maybe. And then Sarah phones me and says, I found somebody with a reservation for sale online. Do you want it? For the place I was just at. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. And then I only had an hour and a bit to get there, and I just made it and got on the boat. But altogether, I think I traveled for 9 hours to get home yesterday. And then definitely slept hard. And now I'm going to share this. And then I have to pack up, go get fuel for the boat, and drive another hour and a bit out there and load the boat up with fuel, and get at her for, I think, 5 days straight. There we go. So, no surprise, it's just a crazy time of year for me. Now, let's get back into finishing off that email, shall we? I think I was roughly halfway done. This guy's had a lot happen to him. Here we go. This is where I left off. His next entry is July 16th, 2015. Moab, Utah, Gooseneck Creek Campground. This encounter changed me more than the last. Even though I'd gotten a couple of good glimpses of these beings during my trip in the Olympic Mountains when I was 15 years old, the Moab incident I had was the most frightening to date. It made me really hunker down and start searching for information on these creatures and any other people who have had a legit run-in with a Bigfoot, a Yeti, a Zowie, a Sasquatch, Nephilim, whatever they are called at different locations on this planet. It's obvious they are the same type of beings. For the Moab trip, my girlfriend had located and wanted to visit as many petroglyph areas as possible. A couple of these drawings look like Bigfoots or very large humanoids. I thought that thousands of years ago there might have been a Bigfoot there, but Moab doesn't even have any animal besides lizards and mosquitoes. It looks like hundreds and hundreds of miles of Mars terrain. The dirt is red. It took me years to get it cleaned off the Jeep. Fast forward from the Olympic Mountains incident 25 years. At 46 years old, I finally bought the Jeep of my dreams. I've been going through a rough divorce at the time after a 23-year relationship. I had an alien abduction experience with my ex and her sister on January 21st, 1996, and felt tied to her because of that. Holy shit. We lived in LA and ended up raising our kids in there. My wife friends would call me Billy, like the Beverly Hillbillies TV show, because I was always camping and fishing up in Yosemite and the Sierras when on vacation or on the weekends. Also, I did effects for movies at the end of my LA career, and I have a better sense than most of what it takes to render out good hair, muscle, animation, etc. My wife and I split up in 2012. I moved back to the town I'd met her in and worked night and day as a machinist to get the relationship out of my mind and start dating an old friend that I always felt a very strong connection to. My girlfriend planned a 4-state Jeep trip that would start in Moab, Utah, and end in Colorado Springs, where we would meet her mother. She had fishing spots mapped out, as well as some good off-road spots like Pikes Peak that we would be visiting. I was already thinking that we might run into a Bigfoot on this trip, but I thought if anywhere it'd be in Colorado. Nope. I have a bunch of pictures from this trip also. We planned on camping, but every third night I try to make it to a hotel. We pulled into Moab, Utah at noon. It was about 125 degrees in the dash. Oh, gross. We grabbed some sandwiches and Cokes for the cooler in town, then headed out to our campsite. It's about 1 p.m. in the afternoon when we showed up. We were the only ones that I saw there. The campsite we were at is on the side of the Colorado River, just before the last bend before a bridge that goes to the little town Moab. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. When we drove into the campsite, we were checking out all the campsites, and the last one was ransacked. 2 trees were knocked over. The steel fire ring was tossed to the side. The steel picnic table flipped on its side. I remarked at how Sasquatchy this site looked, and we had to get it. My girlfriend laughed, and we popped the Jeep over the little tree that blocked the entrance and parked. It was also the closest site to the sandbar that I wanted to fish from, right on the end of the campground. And honestly, at first, and even after we checked in, I thought it was people that had pushed the trees down. I just drove the Jeep right over them and started setting up. There were so many broken branches that it looked very odd, and we started looking at how high up these things are snapped, and how hard it would be to even get to one to bend it down. They were surrounded by piles of dead brush, so you'd have to run, jump off the ledge, and go in the river to be able to actually grab the top of one of these little river sapling things. We went and filled out our campsite thingy and put the money in, and we noticed a weird thing. There's this brand new blue toy chainsaw sitting on a rock there in front of the sign-in post, like it's a little lost and found. The thing is, we were in a muddy, dusty area that made everything inside my Jeep red. My laptops inside my laptop cases had red sand on them. This red dirt sticks to anything and is blowing around everywhere. Anyone who's been to Moab knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's like you're on Mars there. The little toy looked like it was just taken out of a box. No scuff marks, no dirt, no fingerprints, like it was never even played with or even set on the ground. I'll include a picture of this. Until I watched the 411 videos, I would have missed this detail until going through these photos with my fiance who was there. We put the toy chainsaw back down and we put the toy chainsaw back down at the check-in kiosk, went back to the site to start setting up. The table and the barbecue were very heavy, and it took me a few minutes to get back in place. I grabbed my pole, some lures, told my girlfriend that I was going down to the bank to go fishing. And at this point, I was already noticing many, many more snapped off tops of little trees, bent and aiming towards the fishing trail I was going towards. I get to the trail, and there's a 3-inch plus sapling that had been snapped off and pulled down to block this trail. It was in a patch of dry brush that was kind of far from the trail, and I was trying to figure out how someone broke it. I would have to jump to it, break it, jump back out over the brush while balancing on a little stump, but for what? Who would do this? While I was fishing, I felt very weird, like I was being watched by something under a huge bush on the bank. This bush was about 15 feet from our tent. I kept thinking I could hear long breathing sounds, like something was asleep in the bushes. My neck hair started freaking out. And just like every time, I tried to ignore it as long as possible. The breathing was getting louder, and I kept trying to focus into the shadows of this bush to see if I could make anything out. Then a big-ass part of this bush moved right effing next to me. I thought it might be a homeless guy that was waking up under it. Right then, I caught a nice-sized catfish, but it was so hot and I was feeling so uneasy that I let it go. I didn't even snap a pic. I went up, and me and my girlfriend started looking at all these broken limbs. It's 125 degrees out, and the leaves of these busted down trees are vibrantly bright green. I've transplanted trees, trimmed trees. This was very weird to see, just to know how fresh it was in this heat. The biggest tree had been broken off about 12 to 13 feet high with a giant bite mark that shows teeth marks on it like it was a banana to a human, and I could see the oval on the branch where it had compressed from the bite. I took pictures of this, and also of some strange rocks we could see set up on the other side of the bank. The other side of the river was a 100-foot plus high cliff that extends for tens of miles down the river. Any animal would have to cross the river at the point of our camp. Excuse me. Also, the shallowest part of the river for miles, if it wanted to avoid the town up ahead completely. Since this incident, I've scoured Google Earth and I found some very intriguing caves on the top of that cliff at the first probable/climbable point. We laugh and joke that Bigfoots are out in the desert and breaking trees and crap there. When the sun went down, we started hearing noises down by the big bush I mentioned earlier. I didn't think too much of it. I went to bed. I placed LED lanterns on the edge of the table, so if a shadow hit our tent, I would know the creature's size. I'm used to coyotes running through my camp in Joshua Tree. It's just something I did with the lanterns, though. It started raining a little, and we went to lay down in the tent. At about 1, it starts to rain hard. I had the top down on my Wrangler and wanted to fold it up. I was getting that feeling of my hair standing up on my back while I'm climbing all over the Jeep, because I was parked about 10 feet where the big tree had been snapped off. I kept hearing sounds and movement behind the thicket of the bushes next to it, and I thought I had heard breathing from it when I was fishing down below that patch. My girlfriend and I were wakened about 5 or 6 times that night out of a dead sleep, terrified, my heart pounding so hard that it made my eyes bulge. Shadows would dart across the tent of something bigger than human. I set the lanterns on the edge of the table so a coyote wouldn't even cast a shadow across our tent. And these shadows covered the whole tent and were wide. I would peek out and there'd be nothing. At first, we could only hear breathing, and the dirt we were sleeping on was hard packed. We could feel their footsteps when they came close to the tent. It seemed like there was a whole grip of these things coming through here. Every time one of us woke up, it was to a grunt, a hoot, a weird bird sound, or something walking by the tent too close. We were petrified. At this point in my life, I wanted proof of these things, and mustered up the courage to try to sneak up to some of these noises with my cell camera and take a flash pic in the pure blackness. I managed to muster up the courage to get out of the tent, walk into the thicket of trees, and wait until I heard a noise right in front of me. Click. I used flashes and I could not get one thing except 2 sets of red eyes near the tree that had been bitten off about 12 or so feet high. The eyes were very low, like they were crawling when I was taking the photos. I might have had one right at my feet while I was snapping away. Everything else, nothing. Just blackness and bushes. At roughly 2 a.m. in the morning, we were awakened by a half-chicken, half-monster howl. It was as loud as a concert speaker, and when it started, it sounded almost plausible that it could be human. But it grew into the decibel category, into a very weird howl that I could never even fake. We weren't getting out of the tent no matter what at this point. My girlfriend said she'd racked this situation up to a 10 on the weird shitometer and rolled over to try to fall asleep. About an hour later, the same screech happens again. This and the last one sounded like it was coming from the top of the tree where it had been broken off. I now know that they try to mimic other animals, but there really aren't too many animals out there, so when I heard this bootleg chicken monster scream, all I knew was that it wasn't human. It was a lion's roar squared, and that meant that it was big. I sat there in the sleeping bag with my shuddering girlfriend while I went over all the Bigfoot-type petroglyphs we had 4x4'd out to that day. I imagined that these beings would have lived in Moab when it was still a forest. The museums in the area say that the land dried up and that the Anunnaki Indians had to move. But now I think they might have been driven out by Sasquatch. While this is happening, I couldn't believe it was going on in the middle of a barren desert. Of course, we were on the side of the Colorado River, but these things were coming down from a mile-wide rocky grade with hundreds of miles of dry desert behind them. In the morning, I jumped up to find tracks. I knew the area I could hear them going through was all sand. I scoured the area and I couldn't find any big tracks. I went to the sandbar. Nothing. I couldn't believe it. We packed our gear up and went about 20 miles down the river to set up another camp. My girlfriend couldn't sleep worth a shit that night, and we were awakened by weird beeping noises. The ranger found us there and told us it hadn't rained there for 10 years. He pulls out of the camp area and it just starts pouring rain. My girlfriend was flipping out over our encounter the night before and was starting to freak when the sun went down, no doubt. We could hear weird beeping noises all night. There wasn't anyone for tens of miles from us. This is out there. On our day drive out with an extra gas tank, we only saw one other Jeep and one side-by-side. I convinced her to go back 2 years later to Gooseneck Campground, same day, June 16. We drove by our original site and it was being used. And all the branches in that site were broken like the previous year, but were dried out and wilted like they had went through a week earlier, like they knew I was coming. We managed to find another high snapped off tree down the river, and this was even bigger than the first. We camped right next to it. We didn't hear anything that night, not footsteps, no sense of fear, no howls, no bird screeches, no grunts, no hoots. I was so mad that we had missed them, but my girlfriend was relieved. But our trip did not end without incident. As we were laying in our tent talking, we had the roof off, looking up at the stars, so it was just a net top. And a huge ball of white light, an orb, that was about 100 feet from us, appeared directly above our tent. As quickly as I could focus my eyes on it, it exploded like silent fireworks, but with only one or two tails or streams coming out. Then it looked like it imploded. My girlfriend remarked that it was going on the weird shitometer list that she's keeping a diary on. Let me read that sentence one more time smoothly. My girlfriend remarked that it was going on the weird shitometer list that she's keeping a diary on. 2016, Pluto Caves, Mount Shasta, California. My fiance and I have taken multiple trips to Mount Shasta in the last few years. We even went and looked at a piece of property up there on Lake Shastina. We had two very strange experiences there. This seemed very Bigfoot-like in nature. The first happened when we set out to find Pluto Caves on the desert floor behind Mount Shasta. We plugged in the GPS coordinates, or at least I think that's how we realized we were at the right destination. For such a huge landmark, this thing was remarkably hard to find. We hiked around what seemed like flat desert until I started walking up a little hill to see what was on the other side. Near the top, I could hear a family talking about 15 to 20 feet from me. I motioned for my girlfriend to come up so we could meet them together, and the voices were very close. She caught up. We walked over the ridge. There were no people anywhere, but I found one of the caves. We walked down into the first entrance area we could get down into. I couldn't understand where the people went. We got down into the caves and started hiking around. And the first thing we noticed was what we thought was a homeless encampment. It smelled like rotten piss and crap. The smell was so bad, we couldn't get through the caves quick enough, thinking the next one would be tolerable. I thought it might be the bat guano, but I've been in a bunch of bat caves and never smelled anything that putrid. When we thought we were done, I found a huge cave entrance behind a giant pile of trees and rocks. I climbed up to the top, shone my light in, but I couldn't even make out how far the walls were. We turned around, started hiking back up the cave system to the Jeep. We walked past our original entry point and went up a trail where we found a giant, heaping pile of human-looking poop right in the middle, steaming fresh. Went back to town, told a couple people our story, but what was odd was no one had smelled anything weird there that I spoke with. We figured it was a weird cave, and that's just how it was, but it wasn't. McCloud Falls, Mount Shasta, California. This is on our last trip to Shasta, 2018, I think. I awakened my girlfriend at about 4:30 to go up to McCloud Falls so I could fish early. I fish McCloud Falls every time we go to Shasta. It's one of my favorite places to trout fish besides Burney Falls. I'd read about a Sasquatch encounter just beneath the falls that happened in 2016, I think, and I wanted to hike down there and check it out. It was a weekday, and we only saw a couple of cars on the freeway going out to McCloud. When we got to the parking lot, it was empty. I caught a nice rainbow on a spoon while my girlfriend was meditating, threw the fish in a nice puddle, and told Heather that I wanted to hike down the river a little. We walked down a pretty sketchy trail that led to the area that seemed to match the description of where the encounter happened on the trail that I'd read about. It was about 5:30 a.m. now. I'm scanning the trees on the other side of the river to see if I could make out any movement or anything, while I cast it out into the stream we were next to a couple times. I felt like the foliage around the river there was perfectly placed and so healthy that it looked intentional, like we were in someone's front yard. And looking at this area from further down the river, then the falls, there's definitely a human side and a side that is too vertical for people to walk on without risking death or drowning. My girlfriend decides she's going to take off her shoes and get in the river to wash some of her crystals. This is snow runoff, maybe 35 degrees. I could only think of this story I heard about a mountain biker that said he felt hypnotized by a Sasquatch to take off his clothes and get into a pool of water in minus 10-degree weather. I'm watching this and thinking of whether or not I should tell her about this sighting that I read about here. Like an answer to my thoughts, I suddenly hear one of the loudest tree knocks of my life. Bonk! The wooden sound was echoing through the woods. Heather knew exactly what it was, jumped out of the stream, gathered her things, and we started heading back up the path. We kept hearing knocks all the way up to the parking lot. They were in front of us, but on the opposite side of the river. In the story I read, the fisherman was stuck on the trail that was being blocked by a female Sasquatch for 20 minutes. And by his description of the trail and nowhere to go, I knew we were near the exact same spot. The knocks were so loud that they echoed up the bedrock walls of the canyon. I was scared shitless, but taking pictures of the trees on the other side of the river, trying to find the shaking tree every time I heard a knock. I reviewed the photos over and over to find nothing. This was my last attempt at trying to get a picture of one of these things. I'm pretty sure they know that's what I was trying to do, and I'm just giving up now. When we got to the parking lot, an older couple had just pulled up and was walking down to the falls, and a mountain biker woman was gearing up for a ride. We talked to her for a bit, and by that time the knocks had completely stopped. We were a little startled, but nothing like the Moab experience. McCloud Falls is almost a magical place, and I can see why any being would want to access it. Excuse me. I'll never fish the lower falls there again, unless it's with a male buddy that packs. To the haters and all the people that think they are done that they are done learning, Bigfoot is a subject that's kind of like what? Bigfoot is a subject that's kind of like pedophilia? You can tell people about it, but they get all mad, since it's not a subject that their brains would normally process or talk about, and would be willing to discuss. It's not a subject that their brains have ever acknowledged existed or was worth thinking about. Plus, most people hate camping / being outdoors and aren't affected by this at all. To them, the stupid hicks that go camping are so dumb that they think they're seeing these things. I've told my brothers, my friends, and they all think I made this crap up except for my fiance, who has had 3 UFO, 2 extremely weird orb experiences, one of which included thousands of orbs that were making the circle of life symbol about 10 inches from my face. We endured a ridiculously long night, multiple ghost experiences at a hotel, and the 3 Bigfoot experiences in the Moab and the Shasta. These were all with me, all in the last 6 years. She's the only one I can talk to about this stuff, and it's very self-healing. It's also embarrassing when you tell someone that you care about because you want them to know that these things are real, only for them to think that you're trying to impress them with a made-up story. This usually turns into a lifetime of ridiculement from your closest friends and family. At least that's what has happened to me. I tried to call into a radio show in the 90s, but after the first dumb laugh during the interview to try to discredit me, I hung up. if I posted the story online, that website would treat me like a suspect. They will put people on their show, go to location, and then tell everyone it was a bear. The whole show is to discredit real encounters. Why would there be an entire team of researchers that have had their own encounters drive around the whole country to tell everyone they saw a bear? It's like the government UFO cover-up. I have crazier stories about that shit, but I've already been attacked and outcasted from social groups. Real social groups like circles of friends and ex or current coworkers. Groups of guys I used to surf, skate, and snowboard with for decades. Many of them daily. Gone. One friend never answered one of my calls again after I told him an experience I had in 1996. But I think it's just naturally in most people's brainwashed minds to automatically discredit anything that the news anchors and the propaganda box tells us to. They don't care about the research as much as the cheat answer. If you watch any news anchor tell a Bigfoot story, it starts off with a joking chuckle to make sure that the viewer knows that the news channel thinks it's crazy to take this story as fact before even one fact, footprint, DNA sample, a hair, a picture, or video of the being is even showed. Then they'll show it while telling the viewer their own opinions of why they think it's a hoax. And as I write this, I'm hearing a weird whistling outside my garage that just turned into a coyote squeal. And now movement in my yard, my backyard. It's 3:57 a.m. and I'm getting a little freaked out. First time since I've lived here. Gotta go. Now I hear whispering. I'm right on the edge of Camp Pendleton, home of a few Sasquatch sightings. My father told me that he and a high-ranking general had found a landed UFO on the base in the 70s. He's a retired Marine. I don't know if you should share that, but just had to get it all out. Glad I got this out to you, and thanks if you wasted the time to get to the end of this, but also thank you for doing your channel. Use my name, I don't care anymore. Eventually the truth will outweigh the bullshit. Stephen Ernest Hamner. There's a couple pictures. Oh, there's the Jeep with the... Why does that look familiar, this picture? But there's the Jeep with the fresh green tree in the ground. Hold on. Well, there we go. And what else you got here? Hold on. This is crazy. Looking close. This is going to be the chomp, right? The chomped tree. Oops, sorry. Now, if you look closely, well, look real close. That's not a beaver. A beaver didn't do that. And that is a weird looking chomp, isn't it? Look at that. Crazy. And there you go. I don't believe I read that. Nothing of that sounded familiar to me. But I found it marked as unread, and that was quite the interesting tales of life experiences you've had. Holy shit. A lot. What they say, the word on the street is, once they know you know, they stick with you for some whatever reason. Sometimes, with a lot of people. Not everybody, but a lot of people, right? And welcome to the club. Now, the UFO abduction thing. Maybe if you're still hanging out here, I'm sure some people want to hear about that. That's amazing. Oh, my eyeball's itchy. It's amazing. You didn't mention what happened there, right? Being abducted. Now, who's next? It's endless. It's endless. All these crazy things going on around us, and the effort to make us not acknowledge it publicly is pretty big, isn't it? No subject title on this one. Steve, first and foremost, thank you for all you do. I know a little bit about being crazy busy during big game guiding / outfitting / hunting season. As a boy growing up on the western slope of the Colorado Rockies, I've hunted horseback over thousands of acres. I've never had an encounter with a bipedal creature, and from what I've heard from you and many others, I kind of hope I never do. I enlisted in the military after high school and finally got called back to my home in the mountains in 2000. My story was told to me by a dear friend that has recently passed. Both he and his younger brother were hiking into a mountain lake along the Sagre de Cristo mountain range. Sagre. I probably mispronounced it. Cristo mountain range. As he approached the lake from a higher vantage point, my friend noticed something out of place. The object was over 500 yards away and was dark black. He told me before he glassed the creature, he thought that it must be a very large black bear. He had his binoculars with him and he was not ready for what he saw next. On the lake, on the lakeside, he witnessed a very big, covered in very black long hair creature grasping and twisting the spine of a large dead bull elk. Ooh. What he saw next was also puzzling. The creature would twist the spine, dunk it in the water as if to clean the meat, and gnaw on the exposed meat. The whole time his brother was trying to grab the binoculars, for he was hearing his brother stuttering words from fear and utter amazement. His brother finally tugged the binoculars away, and what happened next was truly scary. The large creature stood up on 2 feet, still grasping the twisted spine, skull, and antlers. The creature slightly turned his head towards my friend and brother, and they saw it stick its nose in the air, as to be sniffing something in the wind. Excuse me. Mind you, my friend, was a hardcore outdoorsman, and they'd meant to camp out a couple days and catch the huge lake trout. His brother then tried to urge them to get closer, and my friend abruptly changed his mind. They observed the creature for almost 5 minutes, walking about on the lake shore as to be looking for something. He said a strong inner dread overtook him, and they quickly hiked back to the truck some 4 to 5 miles away. My friend kept that encounter a secret for fear of being ridiculed. It was pretty cool because he told me the encounter, and some years later I asked his brother about the encounter, and it was almost verbatim from what his brother said. Again, thank you for opening this platform for those people can come tell their encounters. I really think just being able to tell someone else about their encounter helps ease some stress and or fear they've carried for a very long time. Yeah, right? No frickin' doubt. Especially those seasoned guys who live rurally, surrounded by other seasoned A-type rural outdoorsman types that don't want to admit to this shit. Appreciate that share, man. I hope those guys are here listening. If they are or aren't, you might want to maybe send them this video, right? Maybe they want to write in. Who knows? That's quite the frickin' scene to see, right? Especially when it's not true, right? They don't exist. And there you go. Really appreciate that, man. This is titled, "You Got My Story from a Listener and Asked Me to Contact You." Oh. Dear Steve and Miss Sarah, you read part of my story that someone sent you. I live just past Granite Falls. I had 3 hogs turn up missing and an alpaca. Yet he left his fur behind, lol, and a hog ripped in half and thrown into the pen. Whoa. I've started having my experiences years ago, from a mini orb in my house chasing me to big orbs over the mountain. Jim Creek Naval Base is on the other side of the mountain. Look that up. So all sorts of odd stuff. I've had mind speak, screamed at, rocks thrown, all sorts of stuff. My son used to tease me until it happened when he was with me. All I have is a phone to type on right now. If it sounds interesting, I'd love to talk to you about it. Odd stuff. Weird thing. In the morning, my son noticed 2 trees snapped into a structure that wasn't there the day prior. Reach out anytime you find this interesting. I would like to hear the whole thing. I started this journey with Steve sorry guys. I started this journey with Steve when he had under 500 subscribers. All I did was type in hunting blacktail. You had about 4 videos out then. No shit. Thanks for the channel and feeding the kids. God bless. Randy Surdick. Okay, Randy, I'll mark this as look into, and you are now officially in the lineup to come on here with me. All right, man? If you want to come on here with me. It's just right now, hope everybody's heard me clearly. This month is and next month is very challenging to keep that going continually. Having somebody on here with me, obviously, right? I mean, I got to get up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning and go bonkers till, I don't know, 6 in the afternoon, late afternoon. And then I got to get up and do it again. So it's going to be tough, but we might try to do it when I'm on the boat. We'll see. I talked to Sarah about it yesterday. But either way, we will get right back into having people on here regularly. It's just, this is my most insane time of the year, right? Appreciate that email, man. I'm looking forward to hearing from you big time. And the hog thing, we had somebody from Australia mailed us a picture of a hog torn in half. Can you imagine tearing anything in half? But a hog? Holy shit. Excuse me. North American hyena? Question mark. Steve, this could be the hyena-like creature you've spoken about before. Quote, in the northern Midwest wilderness lives a mysterious and primitive-looking species of wolf. While it remains unknown to scientists, as a specimen has been not only collected but mounted as well. Huh? To the Iowa and other Native American tribes in the area, it's known as the thing that carries off dogs, or in the native tongue, the Shunka Warakan. In the 1880s, pioneers settling in the Madison River Valley also began encountering this strange wolf-like beast. It had a long, thin snout, dark, shaggy fur, and a sloping back, a lot like a hyena. The Hutchins family took part in that 1880s migration to the west. Word is, their ranch still appears on Montana road maps today. But besides a 150-year-old footprint in the area, the Hutchins family has another claim to fame in the Madison River Valley. Now, the youngest member of the Hutchins family would go on to become a naturalist with a PhD in zoology. And Ross Hutchins would publish a book titled Trails to Nature's Mysteries. The Life of a Working Naturalist, 1977. And in that book he wrote, one winter morning, my grandfather was aroused by the barking of the dogs. He discovered that a wolf-like beast of dark color was chasing my grandmother's geese. He fired his gun at the animal but missed. It ran off down the river. But several mornings later, it was seen again at about dawn. It was seen several more times at the home ranch as well as other ranches 10 or 15 miles down the valley. Whatever it was a great traveler. Those who got a good look at the beast described it as being nearly black and having high shoulders and a back that sloped downward like a hyena. Then one morning in late January, my grandfather was alerted by the dogs, and this time he was able to kill it. Just what the animal was is still an open question. After being killed, it was donated to a man named Sherwood, who kept a combination grocery and museum at Henry Lake in Idaho. It was mounted and displayed there for many years, and he called it Ringdukus. Ringdukus. So what is this mysterious Ringdukus, or as it's been dubbed by the locals, the Rocky Mountain hyena? While the fossil's record doesn't support the presence of dire wolves or cave hyenas thriving this far south, it isn't out of the question. Could the Shunka Warakan be something that hung on through the ages? Maybe it's a modern-day dire wolf or cave hyena, or maybe it's another ancient animal known as the Borophagus, which is an extinct type of canid that lived roughly 12 million to 1 million years ago. These carnivorous mammals seem to be a cross between a hyena and a wolf and were a dominant predator in the river valley during their time. But it's hard to imagine that an early Pleistocene animal could have survived within the Rocky Mountains unseen, except when it comes to the Shunkawarkan. We have an actual mounted specimen, and maybe one day the parties involved will seek a DNA test, but until that day we'll never actually know what the Shunkawarkan or the Ringducus truly is. Richard Reed. Bogu Cheeto, Mississippi, MS, Bogue, Bogui, Cheeto. I suck at that shit sometimes, right? Pronouncing names. But anyways, appreciate that, man. Yeah, we've had a lot of people email in talking about some hyena-looking thing. What's up with that? Where do they go? I've never seen one. I don't know anybody that's seen. Well, no, I had a fisherman email me from up around Kitimat in British Columbia, seen something like that. The back was taller than the hood of his truck in the headlights and walked with attitude diagonally across right in front of his truck in the headlights. Pouring rain, too. Wow. Okay, I got one more I'm going to share, and then I'm going to get my butt moving. This is titled, Possible Face Behind You. Oh, this is one I found that was marked as unread. Below is an email I sent to share my story at howtohunt.com, but that came back and said the mailbox is full. John Ferguson. All right, here's his email. Steve, I was watching a video from December 16th, 2023 entitled Canadian Version of Skinwalker Ranch. It was a slideshow with random pictures every few minutes. This particular picture is the one where you were in the woods and felt uneasy and left. The picture shows you looking back into the woods, and this is to your left. I know it's just a picture, but I found it interesting. It looks like you can see ears, a brow ridge, nostrils, a forehead, and hair on top. Merry Christmas to you and Sarah, and may God bless you, John Ferguson. All right. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's kind of tough. I don't know. Have a look. What do you guys think? Hold on, let me hold it steady. Could be. Who knows? Definitely looks odd, but you know what? It's not. Well, I don't know. It might be. I mean, just look at that. That tree to the left isn't really pixelated much, is it? But would it surprise me? Nope. Not at all. Something definitely made me uneasy that day, big time, but whatever, is what it is. I just go with my gut. If I feel uneasy and I don't want to hang out, I'm not going to hang out. That's for sure. But anyway, that's it for sharing emails right now, all right? But I'm going to babble a little bit for a couple seconds. I watched Tucker Carlson interview Candace Owens. I listened to that on the way home while I was driving. I listened to a couple podcasts yesterday while, that's another mention I want to make too. I was traveling for 8 hours. So I just I got headphones, put them on, put the phone on the dash, hit something, and let it rip. So I listened to Candace Owens being interviewed by Tucker Carlson. No matter how you feel personally about each one of those personalities, it might be a good idea to listen to what they were talking about the first half. All right? Because it sure is looking like the majority of the leadership of the world is definitely incestual, depraved, frickin' pedophile psychos. Just so you know, you might want to know those facts. Don't look away. Don't look away. And you might want to listen to what they have to say, what they report on, and they bring a bunch of receipts too. So if you don't like them personally, who gives a shit? Get over yourself. Listen to the message. And there's receipts. It's not about those two people. It's about the message with the receipts. Should be very important to everyone. What else? Another quick question I was going to throw out there. I listened to another guy on another podcast. I don't even know the name of the podcast, but this guy started off life great, right? Come from a great family, but next thing you know, this police officer, firearms instructor, psychopath, lured him back to his home, would give him beer. He's 9 years old. The guy raped the kid more than once. And the guy said to the boy, this is what's going to happen to you if you tell anyone. And the guy had a dog, and he literally beat the dog to a pulp in front of this 9-year-old boy and left it in a clump at his feet. It was this real dark, nasty story. Anyway, 30 years later, the guy ran into the same guy in a coffee shop, and he had another boy with him. And the boy was calling him a nickname that he used to make him call him. And he'd been through a lot of rough times. And anyways, he ended up going to the guy's house and he killed him. Can't really blame him. But apparently when he went to jail, I won't even tell the whole story. But anyways, what I'm getting at is during the podcast, some things he shared was that this man's eyes would go black. And he also noticed somebody else in prison he saw, very violent maniac, his eyes would go black. And I've had this one in a little shelf in the back of my head, the eyes going black thing. And then Sarah said that her abusive, drug-addicted, psychopath loser ex, when he was attacking, his eyes would go black. What do you guys know about that? Right? That's a very curious thing to me. Eyes going black. What do you guys know about it? Where have you seen it? I want to hear about it. Okay? What else? I remember thinking that because it just flashed that memory of the black eyes. I've heard a handful of people describe that. Now I want to know what's up. I want to know what's going on there. Something's going on. What else? As you look around what's going on the planet, people are fighting in the streets and neighborhoods and shopping stores. People are fighting with each other. People are angry around the globe. They're being conditioned to be that way, without a doubt, because of the psychopaths, probably not even humans, that are taking this whole freaking place down the shitter right now. But in case you didn't know, the two biggest military powers in the world right now, are about to face off with nuclear weapons. And if you ever heard of the doomsday clock, you can Google it up. I think it's something like it's the closest to the nuclear exchange the world's ever been in currently, right now, as we all sit here. I don't know if you know or not, but you probably should know. And if you ever want proof that smart, intelligent people are not in politics, the proof is bombs falling from the sky anywhere in the world. That's your in-your-face clue that very dumb people are in control. Very dumb. It's very alarming. And every single person that's busy fighting with each other right now over trivial, stupid shit should be focusing all of that anger on the leadership of the world right now. It should be the number one topic with anyone who's got any kind of anything going on mainstream here, is the state of the world right now and how close it is to all being potentially shredded. And it's going to make me really angry. The world is so beautiful and there's so many good things to do and so many good people out there. There's so much good and it's all being taken down and destroyed in many places right now. And it's really upsetting. And it's just unfortunate because it's a blatant example that smart, intelligent, good people are too smart to involve themselves into politics. And that's why we're where we are now. There's no smart, intelligent people in leadership roles. Right? There just isn't. There shouldn't be any. People shouldn't be killing each other. There shouldn't be any war. There just shouldn't be. But anyway. And lashing out and trying to say whose fault it is, well, whatever. It doesn't even frickin' matter anymore, right? There's a lot of receipts out there to prove who is the aggressors in the world right now. The receipts are everywhere. It's up to you to do it as you will or not. I don't give a shit what position you are on who started what. I don't care. But the fact of the matter is right now there are psychopaths in charge right now, and they all are in charge of some bombs that I've listened to many lifelong military professionals, retired generals, many of them, and they're all saying, one quote yesterday I was listening to one, and he said the United States, he goes, sadly our country, he said, was the first to detonate a nuclear bomb over a population of people and kill people with a nuclear bomb. And then he said, and sadly we're going to be the last people to kill people with nuclear bombs. He said that yesterday, and it just made me chill get down my spine. I'm like, come on. There's too much fun shit I want to do. There's too much fun shit I want all of you to do. There's too much good going on. Why is this going down? And why is everybody fighting with each other instead of dismantling these warring sons of bitches and taking it away from them? You know? It sucks so bad. How can you be that much of an idiot, anybody, right now, to threaten another country with a nuclear bomb? Oh my God. There's one of these days, whether or not it goes down, the shit keeps up. One of these days, someone's ego, someone's lack of intelligence is definitely going to cut loose and they're going to ruin everything for us. And it's fairly easy to see that there's many civilizations have come and gone before us, right? Whatever caused their demise, I don't know. But it's just not good right now. And I wish everybody could focus their energy and frustration and anger, if they had it in them, to the source and fix it and be smart and intelligent and fix it. You know what I mean? There you go. In case you're keeping your head in a hole in the ground about what's going on around you in the world, which you shouldn't. There you go. I just sent you the heads up. All right. So where am I now? Back to focusing on some good, doing what I love to do, and helping people make some dreams come true and people laugh and smile. I'm going to head out the door, start loading my shit up again. Hopefully, maybe, we'll see if I can get some people on here and talk one-on-one with me from the boat at the end of my day. I might try. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how hard it is fishing, how beat up I am, what kind of stuff I have to get done at the end of the day before I can actually sit down for an hour or two. It's going to be tough, but I might try it. And if I can't, either way, I will sit down and get more voices heard when I'm done on the boat, all right? What else? One more quick note I thought of. I do a lot of thinking when I'm traveling by myself. A lot. And I was thinking, another side note that everybody should hear and think about if you're a parent. I was talking a little while ago about how our children, it's the only way you change shit is through the children, right? Is through the children. And they need to be told the truth about everything. At what speed, I don't know. Like I said before, I don't know. But I had another thought. All the children that grew up to be monsters that are alive on this planet right now, if they are actually human, allegedly, apparently, they were children before they became power-monging, lying monsters, warring monsters, depraved monsters. They were all kids at one point. And I wonder if you ever wonder what your kids are going to be. Are they going to be good, honest, brave, not afraid, and speak the truth openly? Or are they going to be lying monsters when they grow up? You know what I mean? Kind of a weird question, but it's a legitimate question. Who's raising your kids and who's teaching them how to be? That's another good question, especially today. When it really comes down to it, who is raising your children right now and teaching them? Right? That's a valid question, I believe. Because all these monsters in the world, they were all kids before. Maybe. Allegedly, probably, we're led to believe. I don't know at this stage of the game. I don't know. I really honestly do not know if the people in control are full human beings. I don't know. It's a toughie. It's a real tough one to answer that one. But let's just say they all started off as babies for real. How did they get to where they are? Who raised them? Who taught them? You know what I mean? What are you teaching your kids? Are you teaching them to be fearless and tell the truth no matter what? Are you teaching them the hard truths? Are you pointing out to your young children what's going on the planet right now? Or are you just letting them go off to school? You don't even know what the F they're getting told in school, and they stick them in the corner of the iPad. Who knows what that iPad's doing in their brain? You know what I mean? Who's raising your kids? Who is molding your children right now to be what when they grow up? You know? I'm just trying to encourage everybody to do what's right. Teach your children the truth and teach them to not be afraid, and teach them who is the evil and what they're doing, and try to encourage them to grow up and stop it and make things awesome, you know? There's my ramble bamble. I'm out of here. Appreciate everyone. Keep sending your truth, all right? Share my story at howtohunt.com, and I will share it word for word until I can't anymore. Later.